Well, I'm here in beautiful Lake Coeur d'Alene, northern Idaho, with Daniel Hannan, the Honorable Daniel Hannan, member of the European Parliament, representing Southeast England. And it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Welcome
great
to the United States, welcome to the West, welcome to Idaho. You were just recently re-elected to the European Parliament, which meets in Brussels and in Strasbourg. And so there was a big shakeup in these last elections. This is the first time that UKIP came out on top.
Yes, they've never won before. Of course, they do very well at European elections because a lot of people want to leave the European Union, and they're the only party which is officially committed to that. Although, of course, large numbers of people in all the parties and large numbers of voters for all the parties would vote to leave the European Union in a referendum.
So what is it about the European Union? What is it that the folks in Brussels are doing that is causing, particularly in England, so many people to want to leave the European Union?
Well, I think there's two aspects of it. One is political and one's economic. The political aspect of it is that when we joined on the 1st of January 1973, we accepted the primacy of EU law over British law. We ceased, in the formal sense, to be a sovereign country. And so, having spent hundreds of years developing and then exporting this wonderful idea that laws shouldn't be passed, that taxes shouldn't be raised except by our own elected representatives, we've now abandoned that principle. We've allowed ourselves to be ruled by a committee in Brussels of functionaries whom nobody elected. So there's a real political issue that we no longer get to hire and fire the people who pass our laws. But there's also a big economic one. When we joined the European Union in 1973, Western Europe was 36% of the world economy. Today it's 24%, and in 2020 it'll be 15%. Every continent on the planet is now growing economically, except Europe. We're trapped in the only trade bloc that's declining, and that's really no place for a country like mine. We're a trading maritime nation. We're connected by our history and our geography to every continent, every archipelago. We have particularly close links to the other common law English-speaking countries, and yet we're trapped in this customs union by this European external tariff, forced into a dwindling and declining bloc, and that just isn't sustainable in the long run. We have to be a global nation, rediscovering our global vocation.
So what is it about the EU that is causing this decline?
Well, it's over-regulated, it's overtaxed, and it's over-centralized. I mean, we've seen in every age and nation that the way to prosperity is competition and diversity and pluralism, experimentation, variety. The European Union is the opposite of those things. If the US was founded, let's say, on the Jeffersonian ideal of maximum dispersal, maximum diffusion of power, the EU is exactly the opposite. Line 1 of Article 1 of the Treaty of Rome, the foundational treaty, commits it to ever closer union. And that's been the problem right from the start. Normally, the main constraint on big government is international competition. You can raise your taxes up to a certain point, then the money starts going abroad. People flee to friendlier tax jurisdictions. You can give your workforce generous entitlements and paternity leave and maternity leave and paid holidays until up to a certain point, then the factories begin to relocate, the jobs go with them. But the European Union, if you like, is a way of trying to get around that process by exporting the heaviest costs to all of the countries so as to get rid of the competitive element, what the French call the social dumping. Well, I mean, maybe that was sustainable. It was never good, but it was maybe sustainable 50 years ago, 40 years ago, when the competition was coming from within Europe. It's plainly not sustainable in today's world when the competition is coming from India, from China, from Indonesia, from Brazil, and so on.
You mentioned that phrase, an ever closer union.
Yeah.
And that has been the operative policy there. That also we see as another name for integration. We have both the deepening and the widening. and the deepening it, whereas the folks in Brussels have taken control over more and more and more of what was previously national and local, and the widening where you keep getting more and more new members, found 28 members, correct? Provide us a few examples of how that deepening and widening is adversely affecting nationals, particularly in your country.
Well, it's not the widening that I have a problem with. It's the deepening. It's the way in which the European Union has systematically acquired all of the attributes and trappings of statehood. There's no secret about this. The agenda is to turn it into a country called Europe, as the sign in the European Commission calls it. Europe, your country. So it has its currency, it has its Supreme Court, it has its civil service, its cabinet, its external borders, it has its foreign minister and its foreign policy, its central bank, embassies, and it has all of the symbols of nationhood. It has a flag, it has a national day, it has a national anthem, Beethoven's Ninth. And these things are plainly about creating a United States of Europe, and there's no dishonesty in Brussels about that. The dishonesty comes at national level, where politicians don't own up to their voters.